with that, I'm going to turn things over now to Chris McCaskill, who's going to introduce our guest speaker. Chris?
Well, great. I'm really honored to be able to invite our guest this week. The topic is called In Search of Awe Through Science, Technology, and Nature. And this guy, Stephen Goodfellow, has, what a scope. I mean, to encompass all of these things, and he does it every Tuesday. And I discovered it, it's been well over a year. And then I brought my husband into it. And it's not very often that he'll want to sit down and watch something that I watch, but he was hooked immediately into the various topics that we've been able to watch on Stephen's program. And the way he describes his group, it's a group of people dedicated to the pursuit of awe. And they observe the cosmos on an observational, empirical level. And what keeps them coming back and coming back is the I don't know phenomenon. And I love the intellectual stimulation. And it does follow our Rotary meeting, and that's a little tight. On the other hand, it's a little convenient. I set up at my desk and I can do Rotary, and then right afterwards I can go to his topic. So I'm not going to talk to you about some examples of what we've seen. He's going to tell us that. He's going to give us a sampling of what he shares in his group. I do want to tell you a little bit about him. He was born in Southampton, England. And in addition to living in East End, England, he's lived in Nigeria, Denmark, Michigan. We have that in common. We've talked about that. And Mexico. So he's a right brain, left brain guy. He puts those functions together. So we see a little bit of artistry, a little bit of music composition, a pursuer of science, a technology. And here's something that you guys can figure out. He says, I have a decades-long interest in physics, plasma, and its interaction in the cosmos. So you'll have to explain that to me. Stephen, take it away, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chris. That was a very beautiful introduction. I'll give you just 10 more minutes to stop that. Well, it's wonderful to be here, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me. On our website, we have for years, as one scrolls down the bottom, see the Rotary Club logo and link, because we think you guys are all right. And you very much follow the same path as us awe seekers do as well. What can I say? We're a group of typically anything from 10 to 40 people, depending on the week. We've moved, like you have, to Zoom during the pandemic, and we're slowly going to inch back into the public meeting in the flesh realm. We usually meet at the Hotel Quinta Loreto and in their community center there. And the great advantage of that is as soon as you're finished, you can head right over to their restaurant a mere 30 yards away, which is both inexpensive, good food, and you have a chance to talk about the things that we've talked about at that given meeting, or whatever we want to talk about, except politics, perhaps. I'll show you a little bit of the website just to give you some idea of what we get ourselves into. This is our basic website. It's on the Google pages, so it's free. We've been using it since 2015, as you can see here. And of course, you can go back in time and see what we've talked about. the founder of Science Tech Nature is Doug Wind, and I went to Doug Wind's, I heard about it, and I went to his meeting, which was in his own house, and there were about 5 or 6 of us sitting around. I just thought it was so much fun that with my web skills, I thought it'd be really nice to expand. I thought surely there must be more people who are interested in life, the universe, and everything. So we gradually expanded into. We've been in several places, but the Quinta Loreto is a really, really nice place. The Zoom has worked out pretty well. Most people have transferred to the Zoom without any problem. But it'll be nice, as you probably appreciate. I bet you 90% of the people sitting here and doing this, we're all vaccinated now, and that just is wonderful to be able to embrace friends and not have to just click elbows. Give you an example of today's events, or we're going to be talking about the dark side of the Wizard of Oz. You know, what's that got to do with science, tech, nature? Well, it's technology, you know, and I suppose a little bit of history as well. You come to realize that what goes on in the back scenes of something like this to create these characters is not only is entertaining for us, but it's absolutely agonizing for them and leaves permanent health problems, which we'll touch base on. The way we get our links is we depend on our membership to bring the links forward. And I'd like to, if I may, just give a special call out to Roger Lamont, who's wonderful. He just is an awe addict. He sits and hunts down links. Truly must do it at least half a day every day of the week, and so I just basically have to filter through them and find which ones are really delicious to put forth to the members. A special shout out as well to Larry Dworsky, who he's a frustrated data cruncher, and he's been following the COVID epidemic for us and for everybody else, and he sends it out to people. I don't know if you have it on your site, but it's just terrific. He has I'll give you an example here. Larry's weekly is exhaustive in its, and he explains what he does, how he puts the information together, and it's just a real pleasure to be informed as to what's going on and what might be coming up, as you see which way the curve is going on the various states, the various nations. So really wonderful. So we start off usually with Larry after we've done the like a little warm up. So usually something short and brilliant. Today it's going to be a letter to Marble 3, which is, of course, we're Marble 3. We're the planet orbiting the sun, and it's as if it's a letter given by someone out there in the universe who's been around for a long time and giving us advice. So it's it's quite beautiful, actually. The next one we usually go to is after Larry's dealt with the initial COVID data, any articles about COVID, we then go through. Lauren Rowland gives a fair amount of good and a broad spectrum of links. This one here is the one from BBC. Lauren, I'll have to come clean. Lauren's my wife, so she's forced to do this. No, I'm just kidding. The Hamid Faradani is also very, sends us a lot of links. So we go through those. Simple test reveals if your mental images are more vivid than other people's. I thought that would be an interesting to watch today. One here from Ari Goodland. Well, that's my son, and he's the guy who found the dark side of Hollywood, and that's going to be that's going to be really interesting. I actually watched it twice because I found it so informative. Roger Lamont, as I said, gives us a massive amount of wonderful links. The holographic universe explained, the Black Sea deluge, which I found very interesting. We've been spending a lot of time lately on pre-Bronze Age, so sort of megalithic age, and the astonishing things that have happened in that time. Everything from a thing called the Younger Dryas, which is this fantastic dip in temperature. It was like at a time when it was getting warmer from the last ice age, and suddenly about 12,000 BC, blam, it gets really cold for 1,000 years. Just 1,000 years. But this is at a time when mankind is building temples. Again, a find by Roger, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which is this temple that is pretty astonishing for the age, and they're building with a massive stonework at about 12,000 BC. 12,000 years ago. We don't use BC mostly, just say years ago. And so there's this, I love the way things come together. One of the tantalizing moments that happens at this juncture is a newly discovered crater in Greenland called the Hiawatha Crater. And a lot of people have been looking at this because of that Younger Dryas, which seems to occur, I say 12,000 years ago, and they're looking at ice cores now to find out if that occurred 12,000 years ago, because it would explain a lot, including the extinction of animals in the Americas, like the horse, which had been around for hundreds of thousands of years at least, than the camel, which had been around as well. And they actually, the horse, they can tell that originated from the Americas. So this was a very puzzling event that occurred. So we deal with stuff like that is just absolutely delicious, and it goes in different directions. There's the cycle called the Milankovitch cycle by this mad mathematician who spent 22 years calculating the behavior of the orbit of the Earth over 500 million years. The cycle goes back that far. And what's so beautiful about it, it fits with the geological evidence and the ice core on a large scale. As things like ice ages and stuff sound like background noise, when you start looking at things at that depth. But that's just sort of the going in another direction, the cosmos. All the astonishing things that have been discovered over the last 10 years. I mean, most of you who are my age or young or older, you probably remember we didn't know if there was life on Mars, if there were canals. We didn't really have a clear idea even how galaxies looked, and all this has been revealed to us, and we're now looking at the cosmos on a gigantic scale, and it gets more and more interesting. And there are heretics around who buck the system of what the mainstream believes. I happen to be one of them. There are things that I look at and I go, well, are they considering the fourth state of matter? Fourth state of matter. We were raised with three states of matter: liquid, solid, and gas. And that's how, that I only learned about plasma in the late 70s. So, here's this fourth state of matter. Well, what the hell is that? So I sort of took a real interest in that. And that's sort of been something that I've sort of, that's my area of interest, and thus, to some degree, my expertise. So I touch base with that. I mean, you look at the sun, what's a plasma? 99% of the known universe is in a plasma state. Us sitting on this planet this planet is absolutely, the idea of planets is unique. There's so little stuff that is in the form of this coffee cup and of you and me. Most of it is disassociated particles of electrons and protons that that have their own behavior patterns. So there's that aspect of it. So we touch on everything. We go through from archaeology, biology, interesting things that we discover about animals, sociology. I mean, we touch on it. We sometimes edge a little bit away from strictly scientific nature, though we can always find a way to justify it. I'll show you a little bit more of the website. One of the things that we can do is, we've been there since 2015. So, if you go to the search, which is wonderful, that Google has a search bar on here. So if I type cycles, it'll pop up anything over those years in which cycles, are of, that might be of interest. So I guess I would ask you guys, is there anything, does anybody have any questions or curiosities about what we show and tell? Larry.
Hi. Thank you for doing this, Stephen. I think you should mention one of the things you didn't mention about the group, especially when we're live facing each other, is that anybody and everybody is invited to put together a presentation and show up.
That's
and deliver
absolutely
it.
correct.
And we do have a lot of native enthusiasts doing that.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of people offer presentations, and through the years, especially through the people who visit, who are coming in just to, like, oh, there's someone's friend, or they're just passing through. We find out about it and we say, oh, would you like to give us a presentation? Well, much the same way that you have presentations as well. So yeah, we get wonderful. Rob Lerner, who has been with our group, has given us amazing access to people who come to the presentations that he gives under his own steam at various institutions. And I'm not sure which one, I can't. I think Las Minas is one of them, but I'm not sure. But he's like the botanist, biologist who has given us just amazing presentations over the years, and it's been really wonderful. Does anybody else have any?
I got a question.
Yes.
There has been a lot written about Elon Musk going to Mars, and that it's not a survivable trip. You can't survive on Mars. What have you learned about the feasibility of colonizing Mars?
Well, if you want to colonize Mars, you better get underground really quick, because the radiation the sun occasionally spits out when it feels like it is absolutely deadly. And if you're caught on the surface during a solar storm, you're going to be fried by radiation. So you've got to get underground or live in a lead-lined protection for the duration. Now, the idea of us spreading out into the other places than the planet, I think is a good idea for one reason and one reason only. Species insurance. If we get a whopping great big rock that comes out of nowhere and slams into our planet, well, you all know what happened to the dinosaurs. But we have this unique capacity, us hairless apes. We've been curious and been twiddling around with our thumbs, and we now have this ability to fight off extinction if we want. Of course, we're also capable of our own extinction as well, which is really interesting. It puts us in a very unique position that I don't think any other creature on Earth from the beginning of life on Earth has ever had as an opportunity. Shall we kill ourselves, or shall we try and survive the slings and arrows of nature? And believe me, there are a lot of as we go through Science, Tech, Nature, we've come to realize there are a lot of moments where, you know, mankind just is hanging on by a thread. There was one time 70,000 years ago when, according to the genetic information, we were down to the thousands. There weren't many of us humans left. So it would be nice to be able to survive. So, you know, Elon Musk, mixed feelings. I wish it wasn't a billionaire doing it. I wish it was, you know, public through NASA or something like that. But, you know, this is the real world, and, you know, I'll take what's thrown at me rather than, you know, while I advocate for something else.
I'll be amazed if you can even survive the trip to Mars.
Absolutely. Coming into the atmosphere, Mars is the most difficult planet to enter because its atmosphere is thin enough to where you plummet down, but it's also thick enough to where you can burn up. So not a disproportionate amount of entry vehicles have not succeeded in landing on the surface. But, you know, they did about 4 years ago, someone did a query of who would volunteer to go to Mars. And there were at least 30,000 people who maybe they didn't know what it would entail. About 30,000 people who said they would go on a one-way trip to Mars. So, you know, hey, people climb Mount Everest, which, you know, some of us look at as sheer lunacy, and your chances of dying are extremely high, but people still want to do it. And I say good luck to them. If they want to do it, I'm 100% behind them.
Tom Schneider has a question.
Steve and I used to come to the in-person things all the time, and I always enjoyed things and making the Rotary announcement. Although the Rotary meeting is sort of like a 2 hours afterwards, or an hour beforehand. But one thing that I found really interesting is they did a program on the why Homo sapiens made it instead of Neanderthals. And if I recall right, you were one of the people that had taken a test, a genetic test, to see how much Neanderthal was in there. I wonder if you could share that with the group, how much Neanderthal is there and how much Homo sapien is in there, and what that indicates about plasma or whatever else is interesting to you.
Well, first of all, Tom, I want to thank you very much. Tom has been a real help to me in terms of being able to send out my mailing list. You had a couple of hints that really made the difference, and I thank you very much for that, Tom. And of course, I've seen Tom quite a few times at Science, Tech, Nature. So, and I see you look very comfortable in the world of camping at the moment.
Yeah, I'm up along a lake in British Columbia, and it's going to be 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees centigrade here, which is pretty phenomenal for a place that normally has snow-capped mountains year round. So the climate may be changing. I'm not sure. There's still people that can't tell for sure, but it's lovely to be here, and it's lovely to be able to zoom in. And if we can pull off this hybrid technology, Skip, I really I commend you to be able to include other people that have some connection to San Miguel or Rotary, and still have the in-person human stuff you go on. But tell us, how much Neanderthal?
Okay, well, as it turns out that I have only just a smidgen of Neanderthal. My wife, I'm jealous. She's like got like 0.4%, like 0.01%. Neanderthals. So I was extremely disappointed to find that out. I was hoping I might have more. The idea that you can stick a little bit of cotton bud in your mouth and then determine your past is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, what an amazing world we live in. You know, and things that, you know, we've come to realize that DNA is not the end point, but there's also the epigenetic, I always get that wrong. It's like DNA is like the library of our bodies, but epigenetics is the what you pick out of the library. And that's usually determined by your environmental circumstances. And it's one of the reasons, if any of you are familiar with CRISPR-Cas9, and I won't go into what the abbreviation means, but it's basically a tool that has recently been discovered. When I say recently, we're going back to about 2008 to its beginnings, a tool that allows us to go into the DNA and click switches on and off. So if you say, for instance, you have corn that likes a lush climate, but you're living in a harsh, drier climate, you can go into the DNA of the corn and throw switches, which makes it more tolerant to a drier climate. It's absolutely astonishing. It's like the continuation of the Green Revolution, and it's going to have an enormous impact in our future, especially if we keep burning fossil fuel and the ocean will continue to rise, which it has shown every reason that it will, which will cover a lot of flat land. And flat land means usually growing areas where you can grow things. So we'll have less areas to grow. And so being able to manipulate nature in this manner is going to be a huge boon for us. And it's very different from the GMO that we remember in the past, where, you know, that you'd have the DNA strand and someone come along and just rip a piece out and shove another piece of the species into it. And if you can imagine, like electrical wires sort of dangling and going zzz, zzz. So that was the old method of doing GMO, but using CRISPR has a lot more precision and a lot safer for us, because you're not changing anything that the species doesn't already have built into it. So you're going to see a lot of that. And of course, it's a little bit like Mother Nature tossing the keys to the hairless ape, a child, and saying, go ahead, take it for a spin, but try not to break it. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I do, Stephen, if you can hear me okay.
Yes.
I don't know whether you can comment on this, but the release on Friday of the US government's report about unidentified flying objects has whipped up a blend of reactions. And basically, after people were waiting for some official government report to come out saying they're here, we're kind of left with the whole question being up in the air, more or less. Any comments on that?
Well, up there with crop circles, which I take quite seriously. I've heard all the, people say, oh, they're fake and stuff like that. I think the fat lady hasn't sung on that. And the idea of these unidentified objects, I've seen the video as well, I'm sure most of you have, that's pretty astonishing. And I'm presently just agape. And I really, it's like it's that, tenet of observational evidence. Well, there it is on film, that we see it. I am, I don't know what to say. The idea of being visited by, other life forms doesn't seem untoward, that they would take interest in us. If any of you have read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I highly recommend if you haven't, is quite astonishing that anybody would bother with us. But it's like, wow, that's really great. We're being noticed. but you know, it's again, it's a sort of a fat lady has yet to sing. I don't have an opinion on it. I don't know what to, you know, my imagined mind goes haywire. But I tried to put my left side of my brain to work on this one and say, I'm gonna wait and see. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that? I'd love to know. Okay.
All right, we do have a question, Stephen,
Yeah.
from Chris Chase. Stephen, have you been asked to collaborate with SMA's Office of Environment and Sustainability, interested in locally collaborating on fighting climate change?
No, no one's approached us on that. And, you know, we have a Camino de Agua, which we also have on our website as you scroll down to the bottom, and to which I donate on a frequent basis, and really important here in San Miguel, because we're looking at think of a straw at the bottom of a milkshake. You know, we are, you know, the San Miguel, what is it called? The water, the watershed, the aquifer. Thank you. The aquifer is getting drained by meters every year, and you know, it's so tempting for politicians to say, well, it's not going to be a bother while I'm in office. It's a headache for someone else, because you know, if you are the politician who starts to say we've got to do something about it, you end up on your plate, and that takes courage to do that, and so it's very hard for I think for the politicians to tackle it. It's if there's you know, if there's any place you want to live in the future around here, if it is, you know, if we have a water shortage, is a Totonilco, which I believe that from what a geologist told me, the springs that are in a Totonilco, they come from way down. So they're below the aquifer, and they'll just keep putting out water until kingdom come. The geologist also said, if you find out that someone gets parboiled at one of the swimming springs, get out of town, because I don't know, for those of you who live in San Miguel, you know that big volcano that's up there behind us? That's an extinct volcano from about 30,000 years ago. This guy said that the hot point has traveled in the meantime to where a Totonilco is now. So that's kind of like a volcano in the making. And if any of you know anything about Mexican geology, you know, we get volcanoes that spring out of the ground in Farmers Field, as it occurred in 1945, I believe, 44 or 45, and buried a small town in short order. So this is a very active area. A footnote on that you might be interested in, and a good news thing, is San Miguel. We're sitting on top of well, if you look down 250 kilometers, the Pacific plate is subducting and dissolving below us. Now, again, I was told that we don't get earthquakes here. And the reason for that is we live in a dead spot. And if you look at the map of earthquakes around the world, and they put it out annually, San Miguel is in a sort of like a radius of 100-kilometer dead spot. And the reason for that is there's two kinds of earthquake waves. There's S waves, which move side to side. They're the dangerous ones. They're the real nasty ones. And there's P waves that go up and down like this. Now, P waves die out faster. So the activity that's going on below us, 250 kilometers below us, are P waves, and we don't get them to the surface. So welcome to San Miguel, folks. Great place to live. No tornadoes, no hurricanes. no huge snowstorms, no great winds. It's like a little mini paradise that you've landed yourself in.
Except there might shortly be no drinking water.
Sorry, Larry, say that again?
Dylan Terrell from Caminos de Agua gave a talk, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, to the Rotary Club group. And as he pointed out, the aquifers are going down. This might be the Achilles heel of San Miguel, and
I
the
think
wells are
that's
going to go
true.
dry.
Sorry, I
You
have
may-
another
It may
opinion.
happen overnight. You may find yourself having to have water ported in to fill your tinacos. That's the reality.
I have another very broad question. It's from Enrique Orbanez to everyone. And Stephen, will science and technology, I think he's asking which science and technology will beat human destruction of nature? It's a little bit difficult to understand, but you may have a comment. You may know where he's going with that.
Well, one of the things that we touched on fairly recently is if we're talking about the destruction of ourselves, it's got to be the scramjets that we are inventing. Scramjets have to be dropped from a plane or accelerated to a very high speed past Mach 2, so twice the speed of light. And once you get up to that speed and you release this scramjet, it travels at a phenomenal speed. And they're now weaponizing these scramjets. They have to be, scramjets get exceedingly hot. They burn the oxygen that's the fuel. The oxygen of the atmosphere is what they burn to fly, and they fly fast. And so the three major events that have occurred in the atomic age that almost led to our destruction, two were Russian, seeing missiles coming in. One was an American seeing missiles coming in, making the right choice. They had about 8 minutes to think about it. That's gone. Those same scenarios, those three scenarios, they don't exist now. You're talking 3 minutes from point A to point B, and that's absolutely chilling. So that's one of the other things we found out in Science Tech Nature. Will we survive the upcoming crises that we have as human beings? I hope so. We have tools that have sort of landed in our hands, especially CRISPR-Cas9, which will give us a real, like just-in-time technology that has occurred. So I'm an optimist. I think Homo sapiens are cute. I like them. I'd like to see them continue. I don't want to see them go away. It's a little bias, but I think the biosphere can handle us. Yeah.
May I ask another question, Steve?
Oh yeah.
Do you think that if we are intelligent enough to collect rainwater all over the state of Guanajuato or the aquifer of San Miguel, would it be enough for us to fight this supposedly crisis of water?
Enrique, I think I would turn that question over to the Camino de Agua people. They probably have a stronger sense of that. And if, this is a semi-arid location. I have water catchment system in my house, and it's presently full, and probably could take more water than I have now. But yeah, I think getting water while you can get it is a great idea. But what do you do during those periods when, like on the West Coast, further up in the United States, when you hit these drought moments where there's no water for extended periods of time? Then you're in a deep pickle. Then that's a tough one.
The problem with water catchment is storage. I mean, we're getting a lot of water right now. The arroyos are all running into the presa, but we're not collecting any of it because we have no way to collect it. So, because we already have a dam, but that's not our water. That water belongs to Guadalajara. So we're not going to get that water. So we have the water, we have no way of collecting it. So how do we fix that?
Well, first, again, it's the politician paradigm. You know, it's so much easier to think of a Titanic sinking. You know, it's easier to stand on the deck and do nothing than it is to actually goad yourself into activity. And I think that's the biggest problem we have, whether it be in Mexico or any other country. It's the phenomenon of passing the buck along to the next person in line. And of course, what we're looking at now is that this is going to happen pretty fast. You know, there'll be it won't be like oh, you know, like you've got 3 or 4 years, we can predict it. It'll be like suddenly, you know, the straw is at the bottom sucking. You're going to hear that sound at the bottom of the glass. And if we're not prepared for it, we're in, you know, you're going to see house prices tumble here in San Miguel.
Well, I have a saying, we're not going to run out of water. You're just not going to be able to drink it.
Yeah, but right now I have a reverse osmosis system, and I strongly recommend it to anybody who's, especially if you have young people visit. You know, us old ones, yeah, you know, a little bit of arsenic, a little bit of fluoride. You can take it. You're gonna be kicking the bucket anyway in the next 30 years. You know, but someone who's young, you've got kids, grandkids coming. You know, you don't want them to be drinking anything that isn't reverse osmosis, because you can't remove the fluoride from you with just filters. You need reverse osmosis for that. I think I said chlorine before. I meant to say fluoride.
Does rainwater has any of those fluoride and arsenic or other heavy metals?
No. Of course, it does have a certain amount of radiation involved in it, but I think it's negligible. I don't know the science behind it, and it's something that we'll probably look into now, Enrique.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good question. But I think rainwater is acceptable. Yeah.
You know, rainwater, if you back off and look at the big picture, rainwater is distilled water. There are no dissolved metals or chemicals in it, except the traces that it might pick up as it's coming back down.
Now, Larry, I beg to differ, because if you think of a snowflake evolves around a small particulate in the atmosphere. Without those little particulates, you wouldn't get snowflakes. So then, I'm assuming that a raindrop, you know, probably has some atmospheric hard chemistry in it. I would, you know,
Very
all
little.
that dust that blows in from Sahara, it's got to
Very
be out
little.
there somewhere.
Yeah. Also, something like arsenic is a very heavy metal. You're not going to find much dust in the air.
That's true. Yeah, they should fall out pretty fast. There'd probably be lighter elements. See, these are the kind of discussions that we have at Science Tech Nature a lot of time, and sometimes they get pretty heated. You know, people have strong opinions, as I do myself. You know, we're all basically subjective creatures, and the concept of objectivity is a great tool. You know, it is really the underpinning of scientific method, the idea that you surrender your own opinions and look together with other people at the forces of nature, because, you know, doing it by yourself, you're prone very much to subjectivity, and that's why it's so important that we come together. You know, and that's, I guess, why societies have evolved. It's that coming together that allows us to build more sophisticated structures and concepts than you could otherwise do if you were just the size of a village. So I think that's has been a really important part of the evolution of our technology and our science. Anybody else got anything oh, and I want to say, anybody who wants to join us, the email address for Science Tech Nature is zappedpyramid@gmail.com, and I'll put it right. I haven't done any real preparation for this, but I'll slap it right there. So it's that's our email address, and if you say I'd like to subscribe, you can do that and come in like that. We also run we have a Facebook. We're on Facebook as well. Should have it on here. Should say also we're somewhere on Facebook. Control find. There we go. Put a B in there. There, Facebook. So not everybody is on Facebook. That's why we run it as a website. But you can see here this week's events are now here. You can see everything we're doing in fact, in an hour, all this stuff will now be there's the you guys. See, I got you there. So all that gets is available on the site as well. So there are two ways you can access us.
You do still post on YouTube as well, correct? Or
oh
no?
yes, we put on YouTube every week. Everything that's on the website is also on. Oh, excuse me. No, we did for a short while when the epidemic first started, but we there's so much because we use all those links. There's a lot of you're treading on a lot of copyright law.
Yeah.
So we shy away from doing, we show publicly, but that's it, and we don't record it. We don't record the thing for that reason.
Okay. Well, it's 1 minute. Well, it's 10:30 on the dot. That's very good timing. I'm going to ask Skip if you want to do any closure or anything else you want to do.
Absolutely. Stephen, I want to thank you for being here. Very, very, very interesting. And
It's a real pleasure.
the Rotary Club of San Miguel de Allende presents this certificate of appreciation to you for your presentation to our club. A donation of 10 polio immunizations will be made in your honor to end the Polio Now campaign. Next week, Club Assembly, a very important meeting. Please be here, whether you're in person, and I hope you are if you're here in town, at Hotel Real de Minas, or of course via Zoom. In the meantime, have a great week. Meeting adjourned.